This is a story of conquest, a story of lands, peoples, and cultures destroyed. But it is also the story of a people who loved their land with all their heart and could not bear to let it go. The beginning of colonization. Once in a distant and vast land, people lived in peace on their own soil. The air was pure, the rivers clear, and the mountains high. Traditions and values passed down from ancestors were preserved in every home, carried forward to the next generation. These people felt deeply connected to nature, the sky, and the earth. Every tree, every animal, every river was sacred. The spirit of their ancestors seemed to be present everywhere, flowing through every breath. But one day strangers arrived from afar. They brought their own rules, their own laws, and their customs. They began dividing the land and pushing the people in a new direction. What had begun as peaceful agreements and trade gradually turned into distrust and fear. In the distant mountains and along the rivers, where peace had once reigned, people now felt fear and unease. Villages were emptied, and people were forced to flee from their own lands. Day by day, the colonizers' power grew, and the freedom and traditions of the local people were trampled. Some heroes resisted. They did everything they could to protect their homeland. Yet with every act of defiance, they faced harsh blows. Their numbers dwindled. Their spirit seemed broken. The sacred lands of their ancestors slowly disappeared, replaced by unfamiliar authority and new laws. Yet in the hearts of the people, hope burned. They knew that land was more than just a physical space. It carried the spirit of ancestors, traditions, and culture. They would continue to fight for the future of their children, even as they faced hardship, grief, and loss. Part 1 ends here. In the next part, we will delve into the wars and resistance, exploring the heroism and trials that shaped the people's struggle. Wars and resistance. The sorrow and fear from the first part gradually turned into open resistance. The people united to defend their homeland. Heroes emerged, their hearts filled with strength and courage. They fought not only for themselves, but for the future of their children. Villages and plains became battlefields. Swords flashed, hooves shook the earth, and the clash of warriors echoed across the land. Blood mixed with soil, and each strike, each cry, wrote a new chapter in the history of the people. Yet hardships and heavy blows were plenty. Many heroes fell, their names preserved only in legends and in the memory of future generations. The people struggled not only against the invaders but also within themselves. Some surrendered to fear and abandoned their lands, while others resisted the harsh and unjust authority, becoming captives of the colonizers. Still, with every step, their spirit remained unbroken. Every trial, every lost friend strengthened their heroic resolve. During this period, the local people fought to preserve their traditions and culture. Tribes came together, uniting their strength to resist. Every battle was fought not just for land, but for the spirit of ancestors and the future of their descendants. After a long and grueling period of war, some lands were briefly freed, giving the people a moment of peace. But this calm was temporary. Ahead lay new challenges and trials, testing their endurance and courage further. Part 2 ends here. In the next part, we will narrate the final battle and the fate of the people, highlighting their resilience and heroism. The final battle and the people's fate. The time had come for the last struggle. Generations had prepared for this moment, hearts heavy with sorrow but filled with unyielding determination. The people stood together, facing an enemy whose power seemed endless. The battlefield was vast and unforgiving. Thunder of hooves, clash of weapons, and the cries of the fallen filled the air. Every hero fought with every ounce of strength, knowing that the future of their children, the memory of their ancestors, and the soul of their land were all at stake. Despite their courage, the losses were devastating. Families were torn apart. villages burned and sacred lands desecrated. The pain was deep, yet even in the darkest hours their spirit did not break. They sang, they prayed, and they fought, carrying the hope of survival in every heartbeat. Some heroes fell alone, while others gave their lives to save friends and loved ones. Each sacrifice, each act of bravery, became a testament to the resilience of a people who refused to vanish. Even as the enemy tightened its grip, whispers of their ancestors and the songs of the land guided them, reminding them that their legacy would endure. In the end, though the land was scarred and many were lost, the people's spirit survived. Their traditions, their stories, and their dreams persisted, passed down quietly through those who remained. The battle may have ended, but the memory of courage, resistance, and love for the homeland would echo for generations to come. Part 3 closes the chapter on the final confrontation. Yet the story of survival, remembrance, and the enduring human spirit continues beyond the battlefield, in every heart that remembers. Aftermath and survival. The battlefield grew silent, yet the echoes of struggle lingered in every valley and river. The land bore the scars of conflict, and the people carried the weight of loss deep in their hearts. Families were shattered, villages abandoned, and the sacred places of their ancestors lay in ruin. Yet amidst the devastation, life persisted. Survivors began to gather quietly, cautiously, finding each other in the shadows of what remained. They rebuilt not only their homes but also their traditions, their songs, and their stories. Every gesture of care, every shared meal, was an act of resistance, proof that their spirit could not be extinguished. The elders taught the young the ways of the ancestors, ensuring that the lessons of courage, unity, and resilience were not lost. They spoke of heroes who had fallen, of battles fought, and of the importance of remembering both sorrow and triumph. These stories became the lifeblood of the community, a bridge between past and future. Even as foreign powers sought to impose their rules and erase the old ways, the people held on to their identity in secret ceremonies and whispered prayers. And in the quiet work of daily survival, the flame of culture and memory endured. The land and its people bore witness to both destruction and determination. Sorrow and survival. This period of aftermath was a time of reflection and quiet strength. It reminded the people that victory is not only measured in battles won, but in the persistence of spirit, the survival of traditions, and the protection of memory for generations yet to come. Part 4 concludes the chapter on survival. The next section will explore the preservation of culture and the passing of memory, showing how despite oppression, the people's identity endured. Preservation of culture and memory. After the hardships and wars, the greatest treasure of the people was their culture and memories. The painful lessons of the past, the heroism of ancestors, and the sacrifices of warriors had to be passed down to the next generation. Every story, every tradition, every song became a sacred treasure that preserved the history and revived the spirit of the people. Elders shared the past with the young. They told legends of heroes, stories of defending the land, and the values of courage and justice held by their ancestors. By listening to these stories, each new generation learned to honor and protect their homeland and traditions. Despite continuing challenges, the local people quietly maintained their rituals. Festivals, ceremonies, music, and dance, these cultural expressions persisted in secret, keeping the spirit of their heritage alive. In every song and dance, the presence of ancestors and the sacredness of the land could be felt. Preserving tradition was not enough. It was also crucial to record history and pass it down. Some heroes and community members wrote down their stories, embedding them in songs and legends. Through this, future generations could understand the past, learn spiritual lessons, and feel the roots of their culture. The main idea of Part 5 is that preserving spirit and culture keeps a people alive. Even under harsh times and severe trials, the spirit, traditions, and history of the people did not fade. They were rekindled every new day. Rebuilding and hope for the future. After generations of struggle, loss, and displacement, the people began the long and difficult process of rebuilding. Villages that had been abandoned were slowly reoccupied. Families returned to the land, planting crops, raising children, and reweaving the fabric of their community. Every small act of rebuilding was an act of hope, a declaration that life would continue despite past tragedies. The land itself seemed to respond to the resilience of the people. Rivers flowed steadily, trees grew taller, and the winds carried songs of ancestors. The survivors felt that they were not alone. The spirits of those who had fought and fallen still guided them, watching over the land and the people who remained. Education and storytelling became central to this revival. Elders passed down not only history but also wisdom, lessons about courage, patience, and respect for life. Children learned that survival was not merely about living, but about remembering who they were and where they came from. Each story, each ritual, each song was a thread connecting past, present, and future. Hope was fragile but persistent. Even when faced with scarcity or new threats, the people held on to the vision of a future where their culture, their land, and their spirit could flourish. They planted seeds not just in soil, but in the hearts of the next generation, ensuring that the story of their people would endure. Part 7 demonstrates that rebuilding is an act of courage and love. Through determination and unity, the people began to heal, carrying the memory of the past into a hopeful tomorrow. Guardians of memory, strength in unity and tradition. Through the passing generations, the people became guardians of memory. They understood that their identity, their culture, and their history were fragile treasures that needed protection and careful passing down. Every elder, every storyteller, every parent carried the responsibility to keep these memories alive. Unity became their shield. Tribes and families came together to share knowledge, support one another, and ensure that no one was forgotten. Celebrations and rituals were not only acts of devotion, but also acts of resilience. Every gathering reinforced a sense of belonging, a bond that neither conquest nor tragedy could sever. The lessons of the past, hard-won courage, sacrifice, and wisdom were embedded in daily life. Children learned respect for the land, for the ancestors, and for each other. Music, dance, and art were not just entertainment. They were lessons in identity, teaching the young to carry forward the spirit of their people. Even in times of oppression or hardship, the people drew strength from these traditions. They reminded themselves that survival was not merely physical, it was spiritual and cultural. By remembering their history, by honoring their heroes, they preserved a lineage of courage, compassion, and integrity that could guide them through any future challenge. Part 8 emphasizes that strength lies not only in arms but in unity, memory, and tradition. Through these, a people can endure, thrive, and pass their spirit to generations yet unborn. Reflections and lessons from history. Generations of struggle, loss, and survival left a profound mark on the people. They looked back at their history not with bitterness alone, but with reflection, understanding that every hardship carried a lesson. Each battle, each sacrifice, each moment of courage shaped who they were and what they would become. The elders taught that history is a mirror. By remembering the past, one can understand the present and prepare for the future. They emphasized that courage is not the absence of fear, but the will to act despite it. They reminded the young that every loss could be transformed into wisdom, every wound into strength. Communities reflected on the mistakes of the past, divisions, misunderstandings, and missed opportunities for unity. These reflections were not meant to dwell in sorrow, but to guide decisions and strengthen bonds. Every story told around the fire, every song sung under the stars, was a meditation on resilience, loyalty, and hope. The people realized that their true strength lay in learning from history. They carried forward the legacy of ancestors not only through memory but through deliberate action, by living with honor, by protecting their culture, and by teaching the young to respect the land, the community, and the lessons of the past. Part 9 reminds us that history is both a guide and a teacher. Through reflection, the people gained wisdom, courage, and a deeper understanding of the value of unity, resilience, and hope. Continuing the legacy, the spirit lives on. Even after centuries of struggle, the spirit of the people endured. The lessons of the past, the songs of the ancestors, and the stories of heroism were carried forward by each new generation. Every child born on this land inherited not just the soil, but the memories, courage, and dreams of those who came before. Communities continued to celebrate their traditions, passing down dances, songs, and rituals that had survived conquest and hardship. These practices were more than art. They were living history, a bridge connecting past and future. Each performance, each ceremony, kept the spirit of the ancestors alive, whispering their strength and wisdom into the ears of the young. Heroes were remembered not only in stories but in the values they embodied: bravery, resilience, compassion, and unity. By honoring them, the people reinforced the moral compass of their society, teaching future generations the importance of courage, loyalty, and hope. Even as the world changed, even as new challenges arose, the legacy endured. The people knew that survival was not only about physical existence, but about keeping culture, memory, and spirit alive. They understood that their true strength lay in remembering who they were, embracing the lessons of the past, and carrying them forward with honor. Part 10 closes with a powerful truth. The spirit of a people cannot be destroyed. It lives on in memory and culture, and in the hearts of those who choose to remember, resist, and rebuild. The eternal bond: land, people, and memory. The bond between the people and their land was eternal. Every hill, river, and forest held memories of ancestors, of struggles endured and victories won. The land itself was more than soil. It was a keeper of stories, a witness to courage, and a guardian of tradition. People understood that to protect the land was to protect themselves. Every act of cultivation, every ritual performed in its honor, every tale told around the fire reinforced this sacred connection. Through this bond, the memory of the past remained alive, intertwined with the living present. Even when forced to move, even when oppression scattered families, the connection endured. Those who left the land carried its spirit with them, embedding it into songs, stories, and rituals that traveled across generations. The land became a symbol of identity, a reminder of who they were and where they came from. This eternal bond taught the people that memory and place are inseparable. To forget the land was to forget themselves, and to honor it was to honor the courage, sacrifices, and hopes of those who came before. Through this connection, the people preserved their spirit, ensuring that both land and legacy would continue to thrive, no matter the trials faced. Part 11 emphasizes that land and memory are inseparable, and through this unity, a people's culture, spirit, and identity endure across time. Heroes remembered, legends that guide us. The heroes of the past were not forgotten. Their courage, sacrifices, and wisdom became the guiding stars for generations yet to come. Every story of a hero who defended the land, protected the people, or gave their life for the future was passed down through songs, tales, and ceremonies. Children listened and learned. that true heroism was not only in victory but in resilience, compassion, and the will to stand for justice. These legends were more than entertainment. They were moral guides, shaping values, inspiring bravery, and teaching responsibility. Communities honored their heroes through rituals, naming children after them, and retelling their deeds during festivals. In every celebration, the spirit of the fallen warriors lived on, reminding the living of the strength that comes from unity, courage, and love for one's homeland. Through remembrance, the past guided the present. The heroes' wisdom illuminated decisions, their bravery inspired action, and their sacrifices instilled humility and gratitude. The people learned that honoring heroes was not only about memory but about carrying forward their spirit, ensuring that courage and integrity remained alive in every generation. Part 12 reminds us that legends and heroes are eternal teachers. Their stories continue to guide, strengthen, and inspire those who remember, shaping the future while honoring the past. Lessons carried forward. Wisdom of the ancestors. The wisdom of the ancestors was the compass that guided the people through the trials of each generation. Every story, every tradition, every teaching carried lessons about courage, patience, and the importance of standing together. The elders reminded the young that life is fragile and precious, and that respect for the land, the community, and each other ensures survival and harmony. They spoke of the heroes who had walked before, of their sacrifices, and of the choices that shaped the course of history. These lessons were not only learned in words but through action. Children were taught to care for the land, to help their neighbors, and to uphold the values that had been tested in times of war and hardship. Every act of kindness, every effort to preserve culture, and every remembrance of the past became a living lesson for the present and the future. The people understood that wisdom is not static. It grows when applied, shared, and remembered. By embracing the guidance of their ancestors, they could face challenges with strength, navigate the complexities of life, and ensure that the legacy of courage, unity, and hope would continue to thrive. Part 13 emphasizes that the wisdom of the ancestors is a living force, guiding each generation to honor the past, live with integrity, and shape a hopeful future. Enduring spirit, hope, and resilience today. Even today, the spirit of the people endures. Though centuries have passed, the lessons, struggles, and triumphs of the past continue to shape communities, families, and individuals. Every tradition maintained, every story told, every song sung is a thread connecting the present to the legacy of ancestors. Modern challenges are different, yet the same principles apply. Resilience, courage, and unity are as essential now as they were in times of war and hardship. People look to their history for guidance, finding strength in the example of those who endured unimaginable trials yet preserved their identity and spirit. The younger generation carries this enduring spirit into schools, cities, and communities. They learn from elders, engage in cultural practices, and honor the memory of those who fought and lived before them. By doing so, they ensure that the past is never forgotten and that the wisdom of the ancestors continues to illuminate the path forward. Hope is the cornerstone of survival. Even after loss and displacement, the people hold on to the belief that their culture, their land, and their stories can thrive. Every act of remembrance, every effort to preserve traditions, strengthens the bond between past, present, and future. Part 14 shows that the enduring spirit is not confined to history. It lives in every action, every tradition, and every heart that remembers. Through hope and resilience, the legacy continues, guiding and inspiring generations yet to come. Conclusion: the legacy lives on. As we reflect on the journey of the people, we see a story of resilience, courage and enduring hope. From the first struggles against invaders, through wars, loss, and hardship, to the preservation of culture and the passing of wisdom to future generations, the spirit of the people has never wavered. Every chapter of history, every story of a hero, and every lesson learned has become part of a living legacy. This legacy is not only remembered in books or songs, but continues to shape communities, guide actions, and inspire new generations. The people carry forward the strength, courage, and unity of their ancestors in every choice they make and every tradition they uphold. The land, the memories, and the culture are intertwined, forming the foundation of identity. By honoring this foundation, the people ensure that their spirit endures, their stories remain alive, and their lessons continue to guide the living. Even in a changing world, the core truths remain: courage in the face of adversity, unity in times of challenge, and the preservation of culture and memory are what sustain a people. The legacy of the ancestors lives on in every song, every story, every act of remembrance, and in the hearts of those who continue to honor it. Part 15 concludes the story, reminding us that the spirit, culture, and memory of a people cannot be destroyed. It lives on, guiding, inspiring, and connecting past, present, and future. Final words: the enduring story. Through centuries of struggle, loss, and survival, the people's spirit has never vanished. Every battle, every hero, every tradition preserved has built a legacy that continues to guide and inspire. The land, the memories, and the culture remain intertwined, forming the foundation of identity and belonging. Even in a changing world, the courage, unity, and resilience of the people continue to shine. This story reminds us that history is alive in the songs, in the stories, in the lessons, and in the hearts of those who remember. The spirit of a people cannot be destroyed. It endures, inspiring hope and strength across generations. And so the journey ends here. But the legacy lives on, eternal, unbroken, and full of meaning for all who follow.